And welcome. Been waiting for this interview. I'm so excited for this interview today. And I have my iPad here to hopefully I can see any comments that you have. And so we will address them. I'm really excited to be interviewing Lynn Lipman today. I met her on a platform called Alignable, and I was just so intrigued by her story of how she took ownership of her life. And as you know, I have this book, Because You Matter, How to Take Ownership of Your Life. And she did that. She did that. And I'm going to bring her on here, and we're going to do this interview, and you get to meet her and hear her amazing story. And I'll get to hear it too, because I just met her and heard about her story. And then I had to bring her on. So welcome, Lynn, with me. Here she comes. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, I'm so excited to do this interview. I just so am, because as I did in a little bit of the intro about how I met you on Alignable, and then heard just a little bit of your story, and we talked on the phone for a few minutes, and so I heard a little bit, but want to hear more about this story and just inspire people to take ownership of their life, inspire them to not give up when things are hard, and that, life knocks us down, but we don't have to stay down there. And how, it was how many years ago when you had your accident?
So my accident will be, it was in 1994. So it was 26 years ago in December.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. I said, look at you now. Oh, wow. Can't wait to get into that. And so everyone knows here, as I said, I met you on Alignable. What kind of business is it that you have?
So I am in the CBD business. I sell hemp products, which are legal now in all of this country, all of our beautiful country.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing that now?
So it's really kind of part of my story, because I started on CBD. My birthday was on Monday, July 27th. And I started my CBD.
Oh, wow, happy birthday. My birthday's this Sunday.
Oh, happy birthday. So 66 and going strong. I had my accident when I was 39, hard to imagine. Yeah. Anyways, I started my CBD journey 2 years ago on my birthday. So, but I didn't start, so I needed to make sure this was the real thing and not just, in my mind, a placebo kind of a thing, so to speak. So I didn't start selling it till about a year later. So it's a little bit over a year now that I've been selling it. The company has such integrity and is just doing amazing things, coming out with more and more products.
Oh, really?
In this field. Yeah, and other areas also.
That's awesome. So you were led into that choice because of your injury?
Because of my injury.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And I don't imagine as a child you ever considered that you would be selling CBD oil or something that used to be illegal.
Who knew what CBD was, what hemp was? We kind of knew what cannabinoids were. Totally taboo while I was growing up, but that has changed, and what we understand about cannabinoids today.
Yeah, I learned not too long ago, I don't remember how I stumbled across it, but that we have a thing in our body called a cannabinoid system.
Correct.
Wow, I feel like that could be a whole long conversation all in and of itself.
It was discovered in 1993 by an American and Israeli scientist collaborating. So this is a whole new thing, understanding how cannabinoids work in our body and why we should be taking cannabinoids, not necessarily marijuana, which is a totally different plant. Need to clarify, hemp is part of because of the cannabinoids within it, which are the chemicals and all the good things within it. It will never get you high. It's a totally different plant. So we need to understand, even though hemp and marijuana are cannabinoids, they are not the same thing.
They're not even the same plant?
No, it's not the same plant.
Oh, wow. I thought they were the same plant, but different parts or different uses or something. See how ignorant I am of this. This is why I ask these questions. So I wanted to ask another question before we get into your injury is what difficulties or traumas did you suffer as a child growing up? Did you have any childhood trauma or did you deal with any bullies or anything like that?
So I think the most trauma in my life was that my sister, when she was in second grade, she's 3 years younger than I was in fifth grade, she had encephalitis. And I was home that day that she got so very, very ill. And when 911 was called, it was pretty ugly. But thank God my sister is fine. She's younger than I, so she's 63. She's getting up there. That little baby sister of mine. And then my mother was also very, very sick growing up. My mother had colitis, which is very similar to Crohn's disease, and she was always sickly. I thought everybody talked to their mother through the bathroom door. I didn't know all adults didn't spend that kind of time in the bathroom. But I have to say it was really kind of a blessing because we sat and talked forever.
Oh, wow.
That's the better side of her being so sickly is we spent hours sitting outside the bathroom door.
Wow.
And I didn't know, it was sick because she was in the hospital a lot. That was a lot of trauma. And she couldn't do lots of things because she was in the bathroom. But the upside, the blessing that I now see is that we talked. So
wow, that is amazing that you can see both sides of that you have a blessing and the difficulty. And it sounds like you were kind of resilient with that too, probably because you had those talks. That was probably helpful.
I think when you look at things, and I didn't realize that about me until obviously now, we get to look at things like, is your basket half full or half empty? And my parents, both my mom and my dad, they always taught us to look at the upside of things.
Oh, wow. How fortunate.
Yeah, totally blessed in that regard.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So how deeply did this trauma affect you? It sounds like it was not real deep, but maybe I'm just not hearing the whole story.
No, you know what? I think that if you just see this as everyday life and you don't realize it's trauma, it doesn't affect you. We all have bad things happen in life. I was never really good in sports. I was not the smartest. We were not the richest. In fact, it was really kind of the opposite. And it kind of helped affected my self-esteem. I never wanted to be that person. In my life, I wanted to be a special ed teacher and work with kids who are developmentally delayed. So I never felt that I needed to be the top of the class. Bad me. I said, well, these kids can't do, I was taking algebra. I said, these kids are never going to do algebra anyway. So why should I have the best attitude? I was not the best student, but I did well enough to get into school and to be an amazing teacher. I wish I was a better sports person. I wish I was, picked on the teams and I think I put myself down because I wasn't the very smartest in the class, did the very best. So, it's easier to put ourselves down than to fail because somebody else, the way people look at us.
Yeah. I think everybody deals with that in some way. I mean, statistics say that 85% of adults struggle with their self-esteem, and that's a pretty high number. But I would imagine everybody does from some time, unless they're a narcissist. Maybe they do too, because I don't know any of those. So, I'm so glad. It seems like it affected you some, but not real deep. It didn't hinder you from becoming, making a good life until you get to this injury.
Yeah, although I do remember because I was always, like I said, I was not always the best student because I knew what I wanted to do, didn't always do my best. And I remember my dad would take his glasses down and do one of these things and say, Lynn, you never learn. And it was, I think, the worst thing that ever really happened to me was my dad telling me I was I never learned. But you know what, Dad? Up in heaven, I've learned, I think.
I think you've learned, but I didn't know you back then, so I'll just say you did.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel much better.
Oh, good. And another question I have here is why I keep looking down. If you're wondering, why do you keep looking down? Because I'm reading my questions. How does knowing your value and that you matter help you?
So, it's kind of interesting. After I had my injury, I kind of lost my value in so many things. I was a teacher for 21 years and I loved what I did. I just gotten my degree in educational leadership and I was working towards my getting my doctorate in that. And then here, all of a sudden I have this accident. And at the time I was engaged to my husband, but I wasn't married yet. My whole life I was this single educator with a vision just to help teachers be better teachers, help every students learn to be the best people they could be. So what democracy is all about, is teaching people to be the best they could and believing in themselves, which I really, didn't do until later in life as I succeeded. But after my accident, it was all taken away from me so very, very quickly. Fortunately, I was married. I had a pretty supportive husband. We didn't know what we were up to, but I just every morning getting up and going forward and not getting stuck in the muck.
Yeah.
It wasn't always easy, but I'm here today on the other side, thank God.
Amen. Amen to that. So tell us about your injury and how you took ownership of where you were going. Elaborate more on what you had told me. You were 39 years old, you were teaching, you were in the classroom, and
so at the time I was teaching 4th grade and I was pulling a movie screen down, those old fashioned things, the really, really heavy ones.
the ones that used to be mounted on the wall.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't think that anybody had checked it for probably 50 years. Anyways, I actually was teaching in the district that I was a young child in, so that was kind of a funny story too. Anyway, so I was pulling it down to do an English language before lunch. It was 20 minutes to lunch. And with the overhead projectors, if those of us who remember those things, talking about aging myself.
Remember those.
Yeah. Anyways, and that was high tech back then. It was 94 rather. Anyways, this thing came off the wall and it landed on my shoulder. I twisted my whole body trying to protect myself from this thing. And it messed up my whole musculoskeletal system, smashed my left shoulder. And as time went on, we found out that I had a traumatic brain injury from this. Unfortunately, my school district, I felt horrible for these there were 32 kids in my class at the time, for these kids watching this. So I called the office and it's whatever. Anyway, so she made me teach till lunch and then I drove myself to the ER and the rest now is history. I worked off and on before my shoulder surgeries. Because
How long was it till you had shoulder surgery?
So it took 1.5 years because it was a very complicated accident. It was mostly, it smashed things inside my shoulder and ripped off my bicep tendon. And a lot of the tendon and stuff, that damage doesn't show up in x-rays unless if you do some very intensive, very specialized stuff. That was 1.5 years after my accident. And at that point, the headaches from the head injury, the TMJ, my jaw was pretty much locked together.
Oh, wow.
And I was a mess. It was hard to think straight. I was in so much pain. And then after my shoulder surgery, it was pretty ugly too, because my shoulder didn't heal right. And so they had to go in 6 months later and redo quite a bit of it.
Wow.
And then soon after that, I was retired. I was put to pasture, 42 years old. And
wow,
I was
42 and put out to pasture for a disability because of an injury. And I just want to pause here to whoever's watching this at any time. Imagine, you have big dreams and at 42, your life is over, so to speak. No, keep listening.
Yeah,
it got worse after that, didn't it? Because you lost your vision. You went blind.
It did get worse. So I became legally blind, which I really didn't understand how bad my vision was until no one really told me it was legally blind, because I seem to have been able to adjust, and basically no one ever took my license away from me, thank God. Even though I never had any depth perception after my accident, I seemed to be able to figure it out. But about 15 years after my accident, I realized it was very hard to read. And they've been, as my vision was deteriorating, they sent me all over the place to specialists that did all kinds of very invasive and intensive tests, but they couldn't figure out what had happened. And
Wow.
then my eye doctor finally sent me to her last resort, kind of a cuckoo doctor. And I walked
Cuckoo
into
doctor?
really kind of crazy. I mean, he was a fabulous doctor, but he works differently, and I am different. I'm sitting in the chair, and he walks into the room. It was right before Christmas one day, and he looked at me, and I was over 50 at the time. And he said to me, "You have the ugliest eyes I have ever seen." I mean, can you imagine?
No, that's
And I looked,
awful.
I was
Your
actually
doctor. Oh my goodness, I've been terrorized by doctors myself. It's awful. What happened next?
so, and then I like started to get up to leave. Anyway, so he looked at me and he said, "Don't go anywhere. You had a horrible accident. Something hit your head on the left side. It moved da 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 da. I don't remember. And we need to do da 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 da." And over the years, took 2 years, 4 surgeries later, he rebuilt my eyes and my sinuses and everything. And I have vision. I have
Wow.
amazing vision. He stabilized my vision, and his personality is kind of out there, but he is one of my health heroes, and I'm so
Wow.
blessed. And I learned to love him.
Wow. What kept you going? Why did you keep going? What empowered you? Where did you find the courage and the strength to take this ownership of your life that you didn't give up? I mean, all those surgeries and the doctor talking weird to you, and that, what kept you going? What gave you that strength? What motivated you? What inspired you?
So it's funny. I would go to these pain doctors' offices, and I'd see these people that look pathetic. I mean, I knew they were in a lot of pain. I was in a lot of pain. I never wanted to be one of those people. I mean, I have to tell you, the first few years, I told my story, and I was not always feeling really good about anything at all because I was in so much agony. But I never saw myself as being old enough for a person that needed to go to pasture. I guess religion is really important, and my faith in God, and I had a purpose in this world. My husband got sick as time went on, and I kind of took over everything within the household. I wasn't being put to pasture. You get up every morning, you just do what you got to do. I continued going to physical therapies and looking out there to find something that could help me. I knew that, religion is really important, and we are all sanctified by God. We all have meaning on this earth. And I truly believed it and never gave up.
Yeah, that sounds like listening to you. It's like, well, you saw your value. I'm too young. I have light. That's you seeing your value in yourself. And then your faith in God. I have faith in God. I believe that, we're created in his image and his likeness and
That's right.
that value. And so you got it from there as well. And it's like, that's just so awesome that it's like that. And I just say, whoever is watching right now, I mean, press into yourself. You matter no matter what you're going through. You have great value. Whether you believe in the same God we do or not, you have value, and see that value and press through to take ownership of your life in whatever area that you need to. And, get a copy of my book, Because You Matter. And it'll walk you through owning your value, your courage, grace, your purpose. And then there's other people's stories, like you're hearing Lynn's story. These people in my book, they share their stories also, and they overcame all kinds of things, and you can overcome anything. Don't give up. And so, Lynn, how can people connect to you and learn more about you, or find out more about your CBD business that you have, and get educated
let me
about
tell you a little bit
cannabinoids?
about, can I tell you a little bit about how I got involved with CBD?
Oh, definitely.
All right, so I have this wonderful doctor, and he was
Is that the one who
my
said you had ugly eyes, or a different doctor?
No, different doctor.
Okay.
Different doctor. This is my physical medicine doctor, and he said to me, "You are my most chronic patient." It was another one of those moments where I wanted to hit him in the freaking mouth. Anyways, I didn't, because I loved him dearly, and he'd been writing my scripts for quite a while, my narcotics and my sleeping pills and everything else. And he really is a healer also. I have to say, he's an osteopath, worked with his hands and putting me back together.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, after he told me I was his most chronic patient, he said, I want to see if you can get off your drugs and use CBD. And I was aghast because I thought that my cocktail was working. I did not want to go off my cocktail because it was working, even though
Yeah.
I sat in the corner half the time because I was so spacey and drugged up and my energy level wasn't what it should be. Lots of other things that drugs do to you.
Yeah.
Anyways, after a lot of coercion and peer pressure, anyways, family, I bit the bullet 2 years ago. And I will tell anybody who's on narcotics, it is not fun. But
It's possible.
oh my God, the best thing that has ever happened to me. I do not take any drugs for my pain, for the muscle spasms, which I don't hardly have. I sleep better. I think better. My sisters, God love my sisters, they say, someone give her drugs and stop her already. We liked it better when she sat in the corner and kind of stared at everybody. That's like the best compliment. My sisters and I are very, very close. But that is how I got onto CBD. I do not do medications for depression, for pain, for sleeping, for blood pressure. What
medications did you get off of? What medications were you on?
According to compliance with HempWorks, we're not allowed to talk about that.
Oh, you can't say what things you've gotten off of?
No, just trust me. They were pretty strong.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not allowed to mention that because CBD is a supplement, and as opposed to a drug, and it's the way it's labeled under the FDA. And
I did not know that.
So we have to, as far as compliance goes, we have to be very, very careful. But what I do want to say about CBD is, if you mentioned our endocannabinoid system. So we have receptors 1, which is our brain and our neurological system.
Yeah, there's 3 of them, right?
No, there's 2.
Two. Okay.
CBD1 receptors and CBD2 receptors.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
The CBD2 receptors are in all the other organs of our body, including our skin, our fascia, all the other things, your kidneys, your heart, your stomach. So as far as the CBD1 receptors in our brain, once I started taking CBD, I need prisms in my glasses because my eyes were still, even all the surgeries were still not working together. And now I don't need to spend a fortune on my lenses, and I can get them changed. It's huge, huge. So I didn't know about that when I started. CBD is 20 times more potent as an anti-inflammatory than any of your over-the-counter anti-inflammatories. And we know that they're aspirin-like kinds of things. So we have to be very careful what we mention, again, due to compliance. I'm glad to talk to anybody specifically about it. So our gut stuff, a lot of it is because of inflammation. My gut is amazing. I no longer have reflux because of CBD. It's
so huge. Where can people connect with you?
So thank you for putting me back on track here. So my webpage is gettinghealthywithcbd.com. Getting healthy with CBD.com. You can email me at Lynn, L-Y-N-N like Nancy, B as in bacon, T as tomato, L like lettuce, the number 1, at gmail.com, the teacher in me, Lynn, BTL1.com. And if you want to call, 248-765-8941. There's so much to talk about with CBD, and also knowing what the good products are to buy. You have to be so careful to make sure you're buying pure CBD, pure hemp.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me today, Lynn. I'm just so excited that I got to share this, and I'll connect with you in just a few minutes. Okay.
All right. God bless you.
Thank you for being on here.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to my story. And anyone who wants to reach out to me, it's my pleasure to coach you. It's my purpose now.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you.
All righty. So thank you for watching us today. I'm trying to get this thing off of my face. Thank you for joining us today. And it's just so intriguing what Lynn has been through. And I didn't know all that about CBD. I've heard a lot of things about it, but I'm going to look into it more myself for a bunch of different reasons. And so I encourage you, reach out to Lynn. If there's any way that you think that she might help you, she can educate you on the subject. And also you can get a copy of my book and fill your heart and your mind with what you need to be thinking positive and to fuel yourself to take ownership of your life and to live your best life, because you matter. And I'm that lady on the internet who says she loves you. Danielle Burnock, danielleburnock.com, and love yourself from Survive to Thrive.